Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. As I have spoken about before, tribes in my district are co-stewards of forests, rivers, and shores, not just as public stewards, but as sovereign nations with enduring legal responsibilities and sacred relationships to these lands. And I am concerned that sweeping changes that we are seeing to permitting regulations and agency staffing will undermine our ability to uphold our treaty and trust responsibility to the tribal nations, not just in the 6th Congressional District of Washington, but across the country. The recent approval of uranium mines in Utah in just 11 days highlights a serious concern, compressing what should have been months of environmental review into mere days, and granting tribal governments only 7 days to assess the impacts on their ancestral lands. Such fast-tracked steamroller approaches compromise the very principle of permitting and environmental assessment. It undermines tribal sovereignty and risks even further environmental injustices. Even prior to the changes that the Trump administration made, we heard concerns from coastal tribes in Washington about the lack of appropriate consultation during the permitting process. And the Trump administration is taking a broad approach to limit tribal consultation, and I'm concerned that they will make an already imperfect process worse. We've referenced Interior's memo on the emergency process for NHPA, the emergency provisions under the National Historic Preservation Act, the primary statute that tribes can use to advocate for the protections. Under these procedures of Section 106 compliance, to be considered in compliance eligible project sponsors only have to sign a form affirming that they will implement measures to avoid or minimize harm to historic properties or sacred sites to the extent prudent and feasible. Mr. Mergen, based on your knowledge of the permitting process, will this adequately protect tribal sacred sites and other historic places as the administration considers new offshore and onshore energy projects?
No, I think that I want to talk a little bit about the alternative arrangements process that Interior has adopted. And I want to say that this is an incredible departure from past practice. CEQ has always recognized that processes could and should be expedited for emergencies like forest fires, for emergencies in the wake of disasters like Hurricane Katrina and the like. And so there's always been a regulatory process for accelerated reviews. The departure from the invocation of this process by the administration, by the Department of the Interior right now, is a radical departure, which completely disregards longstanding commitments and responsibilities to the native nations, sovereign nations of the United States. And it is profoundly troubling. And I would note, and we've talked a lot about fire today, and I think that's really important. And I agree with the work that has been done in terms of creating categorical exclusions and the like to manage fire risk. But to cut out the native peoples of North America, the indigenous people, when you're assessing these sorts of projects is a huge mistake. Indigenous folks of North America understood the importance of fire management long before a lot of American foresters, including Aldo Leopold, got the big picture. And this disregard and cutting out of the public is not just inconsistent with the statute and longstanding case law, but it is also just not sensible in terms of the important input we're losing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mergen. And, I only have a few seconds remaining, but want to underscore that there might also be significant barriers to tribal historic preservation officers and Indian tribes submitting their comments in the much shortened time period. We're talking about 7 days of notification for a project. Do you anticipate challenges and barriers there?
Yeah, huge. I mean, one thing I think that the members in the committee should keep in mind is that we have made substantial progress in the administration of NEPA. It may not be perfect at this moment, but there has been progress and there's further progress being made. And one of the areas where we made a lot of progress and we're losing that progress is with the sovereign nations of the United States, sovereign Indian nations. Tribal historic preservation officers, the engagement of the tribes in the management of their resources, their sacred sites that are important to all Americans. There is wide bipartisan support for the preservation of religious freedoms of Native Americans, right? And for the preservation of their sacred places and sites. We are losing the expertise that we need to manage that. And the tribes have always been having to play catch up because of lack of resources, because of lack of expertise. And now we are losing the people at the Department of the Interior with the most expertise and most knowledge about these issues. And we are losing the funds that allow the tribes
Mr. Morgan.
to become meaningful participants. I'll stop. Thank you, sir.